Lucky break, huh? That's what Vivian Morrow whispered to her husband, just loud enough for me to catch as I straightened my cap in the mirror. Lucky break, isn't it? Graduating top of her class like that. I swear, the way she looked at me, you'd think I'd snuck into the University of Chicago's law graduation with a fake name tag and a borrowed gown. Let's just say, in that sea of navy blue, my brown skin and coiled hair made for an easy target. They never said anything straight out, but if you've ever lived it, you know, the real poison's in the little jabs, that tone folks save for people they think don't quite belong. But what the Morrows didn't know was that I'd come loaded with more than just a diploma. I had a secret that would shake their world, and I was itching for the moment to drop it. The university quad was humming that morning. You know, that mixture of nerves and hope and overpriced coffee, all swirling around the fresh graduates. I'd spent all night rewriting my speech, hands shaking as I thought about my mom. Double shifts at the library, her hands cracked from shelving books, and my dad, under the hood of someone else's car every weekend, teaching me to fix what's broken instead of waiting for someone to come rescue you. I was 26, first in my class, a full ride on scholarship. Yeah, that was me, Zuri Adebayo, the unexpected valedictorian. I wore a plum silk dress under my robe, a small rebellion against the beige parade around me, and I'd earned every inch of space I took up that day. My phone buzzed, and there was Kale, my boyfriend, the one who made marathon study nights feel like date nights at a jazz club. Almost there, love. You're going to kill it. He was the calm to my fire, and I swear I wouldn't have made it this far without him. But today, for the first time, I'd be meeting his family, the Morrows, Chicago royalty, the kind of people whose Christmas cards are printed on thicker stock than my diploma. Kale always played it down, but I could feel the weight of their world as soon as I saw them. Vivian, her blonde hair perfect as a magazine ad. Gerard, all broad-shouldered and silent. And Camille, his older sister, wearing a blazer that probably cost more than my car. You know that moment when you realize you're about to be measured, poked, and dissected? Yeah, that was me, standing by the fountain, hoping the sunlight would hide how fast my heart was beating. Kale. I smiled as he came over. He gave me a quick hug, tried to joke about surviving the circus, but his eyes kept darting to his family, and I braced myself as Vivian stepped forward. Zuri, so lovely to meet you, she said, her handshake so brief I barely felt it. That dress is bold. Quite a statement for today. You hear that, right? The word bold, hanging in the air like a dare. I thanked her, smiled with all the practice of someone who's been called out before. Gerard was next. Kale's told us about you. Law school's tough. You must have worked hard to keep up. There it was, keep up. As if I was running a race I had no business being in. Camille just smirked. Full scholarship, huh? That's fortunate. Not everyone gets those breaks. Her voice was smooth as glass, but cut all the same. I looked her dead in the eye. Fortune favors the prepared. I made sure I was. If you think that shut her up, well, you don't know Camille. But by now, I'd learned to hold my ground and let my work speak for itself. As we headed into the auditorium, I could feel their stares burning into my back. Kale whispered, "Ignore them, Zuri. They'll come around." But I knew. People like the Morrows don't come around. They expect you to circle theirs. My speech was my one shot to show them who I was. Every word written for people like my parents. For every kid who ever had to fight for their place at the table. Backstage, I ran my fingers over my note cards, my nerves buzzing. The dean's voice boomed, introducing me, and as I walked onto that stage, the lights caught my hair. High bun, coiled tight, shining like a crown. I scanned the crowd, spotted Kale, his family a row of stone faces. Vivian's lips pressed into a thin line. But this was my moment. I started talking about justice, about how law isn't just a pile of books but a promise, about the sacrifices that carried me here and how I wanted to fight for people who never got their shot. There were tears in the crowd, professors, classmates, even a janitor who'd let me study after hours, but not a flicker from the Morrows. Their applause was polite, but the message was clear. Hundreds could celebrate me, but I still wasn't one of them. After the ceremony, I barely had time to breathe before Vivian was calling for a family photo. Just the four of them, of course. Zuri's got plenty of friends to pose with, she said, and Camille chirped. Yeah, you must want pics with your study group. Kale tried to object. It's just one photo. Zuri, we'll take more after, but the crack was showing. This wasn't about a picture, it was about erasing me from their story. I felt myself shrinking, diploma in hand, while my own boyfriend stood silent, hoping the moment would just pass. That night, the celebration moved to Lucille, some rooftop restaurant where the chandeliers sparkled and the wine never stopped flowing. But the air was thick with tension. Vivian led the questioning. Where did you grow up, Zuri? Somewhere vibrant, I assume. Camille piled on. You went from there to Valedictorian? That's unexpected. Gerard cut in. Public interest law, right? Noble, but it doesn't pay much. Kale's got a lifestyle to maintain. Each word, another reminder that I was being sized up, my ambition measured against their idea of what a future Morrow should be. I held my ground, told them about Evston, about my parents, about why fighting for justice was worth more than any paycheck. Vivian smirked. How admirable, but isn't it exhausting? Camille snickered. Not exactly dinner party material. I felt myself boiling, but I kept my voice steady. It's rewarding. I see people fighting for dignity, and that's human, not wild. Kale squeezed my hand, but I needed him to speak up, to see that love means taking a side when it matters. But then came the kicker. Vivian, swirling her wine. Zuri, your scholarship. Was that one of those diversity programs? That one stung. I earned my scholarship with top grades and test scores. I shot back, my voice even. Northwestern didn't give me anything I didn't deserve. Gerard muttered something about generosity. Camille asked, must be tough, always proving yourself. And suddenly it felt like I was on trial for my own existence. Then, just as dessert hit the table, Vivian leaned in. Kale's future requires a certain alignment. You understand, don't you? Her words were silk over steel, the message clear. My roots could never fit their legacy. I wanted to rip their smugness to shreds, but the servers arrived, and the moment slipped away, tension wound so tight it was ready to snap. And snap it did. The organizers asked me to speak, one last toast as valedictorian. I stood, my heart pounding, my bun still tight, and I told the room about sacrifice, about refusing to let doubt define you. I barely finished before Camille sneered. Cute speech, but those rags to riches stories, total cliché. Who buys that? Vivian's laugh was sharp. She's fiery, but it's all a bit theatrical for Kale's world. And right then, the dam broke. I stood, deliberate, voice low but clear. Let's be real. Your judgment isn't about my degree or my speech. It's about my skin, my heritage, and my audacity to love Kale in your world. I've earned every inch of this moment, every scar from a world that told me I wasn't enough. I am more than enough for Kale, for this room, for any legacy you claim to own. You think my blackness makes me less? That's your failure, not mine. The silence was instant, every eye on me, the Morrows frozen in their seats. Kale stood, finally, his voice shaking but strong. Enough. Zuri's the most extraordinary woman I know. Brilliant, fearless, my future. If you can't respect her, you're pushing me out. Vivian blanched. Camille shrank. Gerard just cleared his throat. The guests were murmuring, some nodding, some just shocked. But for the first time, I felt seen. Then came the twist. Professor Carver, Queen of Constitutional Law, swept up and announced to the room that I'd been offered a senior associate role at Kessler and Lane. Yeah, that firm. The one even the Morrows would kill for a connection to. I nearly dropped my fork. Vivian tried to recover. Well, we didn't realize. I cut her off. You didn't ask, Mrs. Morrow. You assumed I didn't belong. Kale doubled down. If you can't respect her, we're done here. Gerard mumbled about not escalating. Camille whispered, I was wrong. You're amazing. I'm sorry. I nodded. Words are a start, but actions matter more. The rest of the dinner was a blur. Guests congratulating me. The Morrows quiet as ghosts. I realized then, I didn't need their approval, their world, or their legacy. Kale promised, I'm all in, Zuri. I'll prove it every day. And for the first time, I believed him. A month later, I stood by the Chicago River, the city's neon reflecting in the water, my high bun catching the glow of streetlights. I'd taken the Kessler and Lane job, my days filled with cases, my nights with friends who actually saw me. Kale was by my side, showing up, learning, doing the work. Camille reached out, trying to understand. Gerard apologized. Not perfect, but a start. Vivian. Well, she stayed silent, but I didn't need her to sign off on my life. Now, when I tell my story, I think about that night, that battle, and the truth I finally spoke. Prejudice doesn't vanish with one confrontation, but sometimes standing up, really standing up, lights a fuse no one can snuff out. I'm Zurieta Bio, lawyer, fighter, woman in love, and my story isn't over. So let me ask you, when the world doubts you, do you shrink or do you blaze? Tell me, where do you stand on love, justice, and fighting for your place at the table? Drop your thoughts below, because stories like this aren't just mine. They're ours. Keep shining.